Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain.
I can't hear you.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Oh, it was the whisper. We're going with the whisper now. Well,
But we got real close to the mic, so...
you gotta get really sensual, like ASMR style. I don't want to get full ASMR. I'm not getting one of the weird microphones that's got like the ears on each side, so I can talk to you about Dragonstorm Tarkir, and then I can whisper sweet nothings about Spongebob and the memes. So, you know.
I'm sure some people be into that.
Some people would be into that, but I'm not necessarily sure that that's kind of the audience that we want to foster, necessarily. It's an interesting subset of human being, for sure. You know what else is an interesting subset of humans? Listeners of the Duels and Mana Dorks podcast, a Magic the Gathering podcast. This is episode 88. Oh my god, I can't intro anymore. Have I lost my ability to intro entirely?
We gotta ask, did you ever really have it? Who knows?
Anyway, I am Connor.
And I'm Sam.
We are the Dungeon Bros, but we are not brothers.
Nor are we in a dungeon.
Yes, Duels and Mana Dorks were that's the one bit I have. I know that. I don't... Leading into it, you know, we're rolling in hot constantly. Just really, really hot. But not sexually. At least not yet.
Well, no.
I mean, you'll probably be like ridiculously skinny by the end of your little adventure you're about to partake in. But we'll get to that. We'll have a little chat about that at the end of the episode if you're cool with that. Kind of send us off.
Yeah, cool with that. We can send off like that.
Now,
ain't nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. A lot of people think there's something wrong with Spongebob though now.
Well, yeah.
We got a Secret Lair announcement. 3 actually with Spongebob, and we'll get into all the details of that and why. Well, it's weird. They went with it, and we're here reaping the benefits. I ask with a question, but more importantly, I think we need to talk about the 2024 earnings from Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro as a whole. See how the company is doing that makes this game that we all love so dearly. And then we'll end it off with the Spider-Man scene box cards. And there's like a random Final Fantasy card, the backup commander for the Mardu commander deck. We'll get into all of that. Oh, and the Commandfest lineup, because they did all the Commandfest announcements, which is very fun, very exciting. But before we get into any of that, Sam, just how are you?
Well, as you alluded to earlier, and we'll talk more about later, my life is a little scant right now. I'm currently in the process of moving. As actual listeners of the show may remember, we moved not but 8 months ago.
Not but. It feels like much longer ago, frankly.
Winter does that. Winter extends the timeline.
It really does. It really, really does. But yeah, 2 moves within a 12-month period. Why ever could that happen? And we're just going to keep teasing it. We'll just keep fondling the balls of what...
Just keep
what this
pulling, stringing people along.
Yeah.
Some people don't even care about Magic. They just want to know what's going on with me.
That's true.
Thanks, Brandon.
I'm pretty sure all of, like, at least 90% are just here to know what's going on in your life, frankly. So, I know Brandon is. Brandon, the OG. Brandon Vole. OG of the Dungeon Bros. And specifically our Patreon, the Duels and Mana Dorks and Dungeon Bros Patreon, where you can join... Oh, my God. I'm dying. Where you can join at $5 a month, and you can get the podcast early and ad-free. $15 to get your name read on the show, like Brandon has. And yeah, it's a good time for all that are interested in the podcast. And some of our other videos, like we did our little gameplay, a little 2024 Chaos Limited pool, which was very fun. We have our Ether Drift set review for Bonus Action, the supplement podcast with our friend Typical Gemini, who was on both of those. And yeah, I've got some other videos kind of rumbling right now. Sam might be vlogging and just dumping an entire phone's worth of video. Who knows?
Who knows?
Vlogging what? Only time will tell. Only time can tell. But of course, you can get the Duels and Mana Dorks podcast every other week for free podcast services around the globe: Apple, YouTube Music, Spotify, the YouTube video on Mondays every other week. You can get it early and ad-free on the Patreon on Wednesdays prior. Gen Con. It's got the registration open for that. I'm waiting to hear back about a press badge again, which would be pretty cool. But I'm definitely going to that.
Cool
Sam might not be. Sam might not be back. Who knows? Who knows what's going on with that?
Not even me.
Frankly.
Yeah.
Might be going to swim with the fishes.
Who knows?
Not like mob style, but like going to an ocean to swim around with fish.
Yeah, like with the dolphins or the... Yeah. Dolphins aren't fish,
Is a dolphin a fish?
It's not. No, it's a mammal.
Could have fooled me.
It's got mammalian traits to it.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all, actually. Like, why are you gallivanting about like a fish if you're not a fish? Anyway, this isn't. We're not here to debate the genomes of the known universe at this point. That's a whole other podcast. That might be a bonus action one day. Who knows?
Sure.
You can debate what is and is not a mammal. Anyway, before we get into the news, as we've kind of teased a little bit so far, let's get into the upcoming releases for Magic the Gathering as we do each and every week. Sam, what do we got coming out in Magic the Gathering?
All right, on April 11th, we'll have Tarkir Dragonstorm. The preview season will be starting up quite soon, March 18th through the 28th, so get ready for some cool dragon and probably monk cards.
No dungeons, though.
No dungeons. Nope. Nope. Next up, releasing on June 13th, we have the Final Fantasy Universes Beyond. Very exciting. And like we said, we'll have a one card to talk about here in a little bit. Coming up for the standard set rotation this year, August 1st, will be Edge of Eternities, the kind of space fantasy opera sort of ordeal. Following that, we have Spider-Man, The Universes Beyond. We don't know when that'll be coming out, because why would we?
Don't have a date.
But we do have a date for the last one of the year, November 21st, Avatar, The Last Airbender Universes Beyond will be coming out.
Yes, it was theorized on Reddit and various forums surrounding Magic arenas. We reported on it several episodes ago, and it turns out it was true. You can watch that in the last episode, which is pretty cool. I still don't like that we haven't dated Spider-Man yet, frankly.
Well, yeah. We're not Mary Jane. We haven't dated Spider-Man.
Or Gwen. Or Gwen Stacy. Or, what is it, Michelle? Is that her name in the MCU Spider-Man?
Oh, yeah. Michelle. That's, Zendaya's character.
Yeah, Zendaya. Where her initials are MJ, so it's like a little tongue-in-cheek thing. But that's neither here nor there. What is here and what is there is an earnings report. The most favorite thing of all Magic nerds to listen to. Money. Very important thing to do, to go over. The earnings report for Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. Just kind of keep an eye on the health of the company. If the company is not healthy, the game's probably not going to be all that healthy. And right now, as we've been saying, and many people have been saying for a very long time, we continue the trend of Wizards of the Coast kind of propping everything up right now. Interestingly, though, in the fourth quarter of 2024, the revenue for Wizards of the Coast and the digital gaming division of Hasbro was actually down 7% from this time last year, still operating at a profit margin of 23% or $81 million for the fourth quarter of the year. A slight... not super surprising, frankly. Bloomburrow into Duskmourn into Foundations without a major video game release. I'm not entirely surprised. Like, Foundations was popular, Duskmourn, Bloomburrow, good sets. Not nearly as profitable as something like Modern Horizons 3 slightly earlier in the year. Are you surprised by the fourth quarter performance from Wizards of the Coast?
I mean, they do point out in the article that the end of year had a little sales dip compared to the previous year, with certain other titles being released more in the year prior, namely the Lord of the Rings end-of-year sets, or specialty gift boxes.
Yeah, the scene boxes, which Spider-Man is going to be getting one. We'll get to that in a little bit.
But no, I mean, honestly, this is not a terrible look for the overall fourth quarter in at least the Wizards of the Coast division. Yeah, they're down a little bit in their percent versus the previous year, but they're still operating at a profit and have positive revenue, a very good positive revenue.
Yes. The article, I should be mentioning this at the top of all our stories. I just like jumping into it. This is from Star City Games, written by Nick Miller, going over the Magic the Gathering. So Hasbro overall in the fourth quarter down 15%, still operating at a profit. Notably, the entertainment and the corporate divisions of Hasbro were the only ones that were operating actively on a loss. They did close E1, the production house, for their movies and television series. So obviously entertainment was going to be down. They've been firing a lot of people at the corporate level and getting rid of properties there, so it's not surprising that they're operating on a loss in that regard either. Consumer products is the other major division, and while it's down slightly from the previous year, still operating at a profit compared to the rest of the company. But the more interesting aspect, I think, is overall for the year of 2024, the only division operating with a positive growth compared to 2023 is, of course, Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming from Hasbro. Consumer products was down 12%, entertainment down 88%, again with the closing of E1, and corporate and other operating still at a loss, with Hasbro overall revenue being down 17% in 2024. Not the fault of Wizards of the Coast. Not the fault of Wizards of the Coast at all. With the closing of E1, I feel like the entertainment vertical of the company is probably just going to be removed from the call sheet here in the future, would be my what I would suspect. But operating at a profit of $632 million for Wizards of the Coast, and that is profit. That is not revenue. That is after all of the costs. They made $630 million off of Wizards of the Coast in digital gaming. Obviously, a good chunk of that's going to come from something like Baldur's Gate 3 and other digital releases. Dungeons & Dragons book sales are going to be included in that. But far and away, the most profitable part of Wizards of the Coast being Magic the Gathering. I would go so far as to theorize, this is a theory, at least half of that was just from Magic the Gathering, I would say. What do you think of the profit margin for the company? Is it leaning too heavily on Wizards of the Coast?
I mean, for years we've been talking, but one of our very first episodes, years and years ago, for the Duels of Man Dorks podcast, back then the Dungeon Bros podcast, was about the fact that Wizards of the Coast was the only thing propping up Hasbro, and there have been plenty of groups over the past couple years that have said, hey, why don't we split Wizards of the Coast off and make it its own thing so that it can be, hypothetically, even more profitable. And of course, Hasbro overall also just had this huge multi-year plan that the timeline got chopped because they successfully got their target goals early due to the pandemic, and then they tried to do it again. And I think we're definitely seeing a lot of struggle and a lot of strain put on Wizards of the Coast to try and make those kind of ridiculous goals happen once again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The last interesting little statistic that I want to point out here is that in 2024, while profit was up, revenue was up 4%, profit was up for Wizards of the Coast for Magic. Magic the Gathering sales actually went down 1% on the year in 2024. So if we extrapolate this, basic mathematics would imply if your revenue is going up and your sales are going down, that means you're selling either you're selling at a wider profit margin, effectively. So meaning the price of Magic the Gathering has been going up. And that is reflected in the price of products that we've been seeing. Commander decks are often selling for more. Booster boxes are getting fewer packs, are getting higher price. The move to the play booster, I think, also kind of helped a lot in that regard. They got to take the more premium pricing for just all the packs that they sell instead of having a slightly less expensive draft pack. All of that boosting up. And then if you look at Universes Beyond, I mean, they're selling packs for $7, $8 in Universes Beyond sets, those premium sets. Are you concerned at all? Are you surprised that sales are going down? Do you think that the sales gap is going to go down further in 2025?
It's going to be, as somebody who, we don't really have any backgrounds in this, but, I've been playing for several years now. I'm curious because of, like you said, the increase in price for less product has been continuing this trend. Like, we've already seen that the price for Final Fantasy Commander decks will be in the $120 range for standard decks, and then if you want the collector's edition, you're going to be doubling that price minimum. I saw a Reddit or a post from another creator who does Magic the Gathering stuff, who pointed out that for the same price as one collector's booster box, actually for like 75% of the price of one collector's booster box of Final Fantasy packs, you could get the all of the Final Fantasy mainline games plus the requisite system you need to play them on.
Yep. I've seen that meme as well, and you could get a Switch and all of the mainline Final Fantasy games that are available on the Switch for less than the price of a Final Fantasy collector booster. Now, I will say that was at a time shortly after the release of all of the Final Fantasy information. It is when prices were very inflated on secondary markets. If you go in and look now, the price of a lot of these products has gone down precipitously. Still way higher than a normal collector booster box, a normal booster box, a normal bundle, but much less than the panic pre-ordering that was happening right at the very beginning when we were getting card details to begin with. The last little bit of interesting information is the release cadence and some Magic statistics. Financial statistics, Magic the Gathering first crossed 1 billion with a B in annual revenue in 2022, with fiscal year 2024's revenue being $1.08 billion for Magic the Gathering. So well over half of the profit, I would argue, coming from Magic. Player demographics. The average tabletop player is about 30 years old, which I'm a little bit surprised by. I'm 30 years old. I'm the average tabletop player.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, average. That's us. But I'm part of me is surprised, but then when you think about it more logically, like, Magic the Gathering is a game that is expensive. It's got a very large barrier to entry for younger audiences. I remember when I first played Magic back in college, I had to stop during the Theros block because I couldn't afford to keep playing it and buying new packs and participating in the scene, as it were. So it's not surprising that the average player's 30 years old, and I imagine that number is probably going to keep getting older as time goes on. But, only long-term statistics, only long-term data will tell us that information. The average player tenure is about 5+ years. So the average player has been playing for about 5 years. We are under that in that regard. We've been playing about 2.5 years. Wizards Play Network has about 7,500 stores. And interestingly enough, play event ticket sales compared to 2023 were up 16%. So any of the events that you are paying to participate in Magic the Gathering, more people are going to the gathering aspect of Magic the Gathering and less the pack ripping and the cards and all of that, which I'm not entirely surprised by, especially in our post-pandemic life. I think more as these 5 years, which, by the way, it's been, as of the recording of this, 5 years to the day since lockdown started.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Pretty wild.
The time goes ever on. Lastly, I think the most interesting thing of all of this, the release cadence for Magic sets. In 2024, we had Murders of Karlov Manor, Thunder Junction, Modern Horizons 3 in the first half of the year, with Bloomborough Duskmourn Foundations in the second half of the year. And they seem to be following a very similar cadence almost to the week for 2025. Ether Drift coming out in mid-February, Tarkir at the beginning of April, one day earlier than Thunder Junction did last year. Final Fantasy coming out a week later than Modern Horizons 3. Edge of Eternities and Bloomborough coming out almost at the exact same time. And to be announced Spider-Man date, we can suspect it's going to be sometime in September if it's around the same time as Duskmourn. And then November 20... we wrote this down. November 21st for Avatar, The Last Airbender, which is about a week after when Foundations came out last year. A lot of fun data, a lot of interesting information for the average player. Sam, what do you make of the statistics? Do you feel like that is an accurate representation of the demographics? Do you like the cadence of set releases for this year?
In regards to the demographics, I'm not super surprised that the average is 30 years old. Like you said, one, it's more expensive, and we're 30 years old is kind of in the age where you do have a little bit more spending money than maybe in previous iterations of your life. But secondarily, a lot of people who played it in the early days, as kids, are now in their 30s, because it came out in 30 years ago. What I think will be interesting to see next year is how they categorize the play event ticket sales, because as we'll talk about in a little bit, there's going to be far more play events this year.
Oh, absolutely.
And obviously MagicCons have been growing since, like you said, since the pandemic loosened up, and since even more, there's been more focus on things like live shows and content creators being at such things that a lot of people probably go for as well. So yeah, I'll be excited to see this next year and forget all this information right here.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to completely forget this by next year.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That said, the release cadence specifically, we only had the 6 sets that they designate as tentpole sets. So you're kind of your standard sets, your standard legal, in this case, sets, with the exception of Modern Horizons 3 from last year, but I digress.
Mm-hmm.
What is not included on these are the beginning of the year remaster sets we've been getting. We did not see Ravnica remastered for last year or Innistrad remastered for this year on this list. We also did not see sets like Mystery Boosters 2 from last year as a supplemental premium set. So do you think that we're going to be able to squeeze a supplemental set in here? Maybe a Masters set of some kind? It's been 2 years now since Commander Masters.
True. I would be... they do have a habit of kind of popping these little surprise sets in. To be honest, Foundations was technically a surprise set that they didn't announce until about a month before its release, or maybe 2 months. Though this particular year seems pretty stacked already, I would be curious to see if sometime around August, around Gen Con, one of the bigger venues of the year, if they're going to drop something else.
Well, with Gen Con, we're going to get the release of Edge of Eternities that weekend. Mm-hmm. Just like we had with Bloomborough this last year.
And 2 years prior, we had Lord of the Rings and Commander Masters back to back, so that actually a lot of events were happening for both sets at Gen Con.
And I imagine we're going to have a ton of Final Fantasy stuff going on for Gen Con. And with the release of Edge of Eternities, we might also see them try and pump up Mystery Boosters 2. Maybe do a full release that you can actually buy, much like they did with the original Mystery Boosters, where you could get the in-store version, and then there were the convention-exclusive versions of the booster boxes for Mystery Boosters 2. But that's all just speculation at this point. Moving on. We've got some Magic cards that are worth talking about. The first one, releasing basically right after we posted the podcast, is the Spider-Man set not really the set. We've got a scene box. So we know that scene boxes are returning, originally shown in the holiday release of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. It was kind of a supplement several months after the set came out. We get the Marvel's Spider-Man Eternal scene box. It will include 6 cards with full arts that, when you lay them together, create an entire scene across all 6 of the cards. 4 legendary creatures among them, including Venom, Deadly Devourer, Green Goblin Nemesis, Doc Ock, Evil Inventor, and the titular Sensational Spider-Man. We also receive a sorcery of Grasping Tentacles and the Pumpkin Bombs artifact. Some interesting commanders to build around. Venom is exiling creatures from graveyards and then giving himself counters based on their toughness. The Green Goblin is wanting you to discard cards to give him counters and creating tapped treasure tokens if you choose to discard a land. Doc Ock being notable as the 7 mana 8/8 commander. At the beginning of combat, you can target a non-creature artifact you control, and it becomes an 8/8 robot villain until, in addition to its other types. So it permanently is making your artifacts 8/8s. Spider-Man, whenever he attacks, he will tap a target creature the defending player controls, putting a stun counter on it. And you can remove up to 3 stun counters from among all permanents and draw cards equal to the number of stun counters removed this way. Wanting to, seemingly, I would assume you would want to control the board with all of the tap down effects and stun counter instants and sorceries that we have in blue. Grasping Tentacles, obviously going to work well with Doc Ock. Target opponent mills 8 cards. You can put an artifact from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control for 3 mana. And then the Pumpkin Bombs, the 2 mana artifact, tap to discard 2 cards, draw 3 cards, put a fuse counter on the artifact, deals damage equal to the number of fuse counters on it to target opponent, and they gain control of this artifact. So another kind of group slug type effect with the Pumpkin Bombs, sending it around the table, allowing people to discard cards to draw fresh 3, and then dealing damage to people. A lot of people not super thrilled with the card designs, particularly Doc Ock being a 7 mana 8/8 that just is going to be very difficult to cast in Dimir. Not a lot of ramp options, but I do know people have been lusting after this Venom. What cards speak out to you, Sam?
See, I'm on the opposite spectrum of Doc Ock, Evil Inventor. I like it, and there are plenty of mana rocks so you can play colorless, and you get out your Thran Dynamo, get him out next turn, and oh boy, howdy, you're going to be hitting somebody with an 8/8 Thran Dynamo. That sounds fun to me. When it comes to the Sensational Spider-Man's abilities, I'm not super thrilled with them. I hope that this obviously won't be the only Spider-Man we see in the set. It's a little mundane and a little. I get where they're going with it. I'm just not super into that play style, and I don't really want to play against that play style. I like my things to be untapped. And I do want to call out the major flavor fail with Green Goblin Nemesis being in Rakdos.
Yep. Yep, the Green Goblin does not have green in the color identity, which is a goddamn travesty, quite frankly. Green Goblin could have very easily been the Golgari card in the set to have access to green, and Venom could have very easily been a Rakdos Graveyard Hate, big things go smash card. Interesting little design choice there. I suspect red because treasure tokens. They wanted to include treasure tokens, but they could have figured it out. Anyway, and I'm sure we're going to get a Green Goblin that's in green. I would be completely shocked. We've already, one interesting note about the type lines of these creatures, we've already seen Hero from the Marvel Secret Lair, where they introduced the Hero subtype. We are also getting, I believe, Villain subtype for the first time. I don't know if there's any other villains, but I definitely know there's no other symbiotes that have ever been printed on a card. So with Venom, Deadly Devourer, we're going to be getting our first symbiote creature type. So all those things that care about having as many creature types as possible, you got at least one new one to play with. Sam, are you verifying the villain claim?
Yes, I'm double checking, and what I'll say is the only villain cards out there are villain cards. However, they are silver border.
Ah, well, The first black border
There
villain
you
card.
go.
The first legal for constructed play villain cards. And I believe we've had scientists before. Definitely had spiders, definitely had humans, goblins. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Do you have anything
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want to say about these scene cards?
I look forward to the rest of the spoilers that will come several months from now for Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's cool. I look forward to more spiders.
More spiders, man. We're definitely. I would suspect we're not going to get more previews of this until after Final Fantasy. It seems like they're really okay with just kind of previewing the Universes Beyond sets as early as humanly possible. So we're probably going to get we're going to get a bunch of spoilers for Final Fantasy in the lead up to Tarkir. Would be my suspicion. And then we're going to be getting a lot of Spider-Man previews in the lead up to Edge of Eternities would be my guess there. All right, moving on. We have, oh boy,
Oh boy.
oh Sponge Boy me Bob. SpongeBob Secret Lair. It was announced at MagicCon Las Vegas in the fall, but we now are receiving the Secret Lairs starting on March 24th. There are 3 Secret Lairs that are going to be $30, $29.99 in non-foil, and $40, $39.99 in foil. One of them is just some more fucking basic lands.
Yup.
We do not know yet if you are simply getting 5 basic lands or 5 of each of the basic lands. They depict Gary going to various locations in the SpongeBob universe, which is very cute, but don't pay $30 or $40 for 5 to 25 lands. That's what I would suggest. More interestingly, we have 2 of the core Secret Lairs. First being SpongeBob SquarePants Legends of Bikini Bottom. This is a 7-card Secret Lair, so 2 more than normal. All featuring legendary creatures that have been skinned with SpongeBob the SquarePants characters. All of these are old card designs that are just getting a fun character put on. The titular SpongeBob is going to be Joda the Unifier. His pet Gary the Snail is going to be Toxrill the Corrosive, because that's not going to be toxic for all the new players that are getting into it through SpongeBob. Sandy Cheeks is going to be Toski, Bearer of Secrets. Plankton, Tiny Tyrant, my favorite, is going to be Skrill Defector Mite. That's adorable and hilarious. Mr. Krabs is going to be Cherix the Raging Isle. Squidward, Grazilax, Illithid Scholar, and my second favorite, SpongeBob's bestest boy, Patrick Star, is going to be a card from Legends, Barktooth Warbeard, a 7-mana 6/5 vanilla legendary creature.
Yeah.
In what you can only describe as a flavor win. Sam, what do you make of the Legends of Bikini Bottom?
Well, first I'm gonna point out that they actually made all their named creatures in this release legendary creatures. In the past, they've given named creatures or they've given the titular characters just regular non-legendary cards. I do find it interesting that they did that here, and honestly, that's probably what they should have done from the beginning. When looking over these, Gary being Toxrill and Sandy being Toski, those 2 are kind of the only ones that often get above $1 or $2 price, with Skrill Defector Mite coming in just behind that. What I do think is that SpongeBob SquarePants is a 5-color commander. We've gotten a few 5-color Secret Lair legendary or Universes Beyond or skinned creatures before, and they've never been that good. This is, I think, going to become one of the I want to play my 5-color Universes Beyond Secret Lair Legends deck. I want to put all my favorite characters in. SpongeBob SquarePants is probably going to be heading up a lot of those.
And if you were to buy all 3 of the Secret Lairs, which I would not recommend buying the lands one, you should proxy them. You could play all of the cards in the entirety of this Secret Lair with some fun thematic things in terms of like fishing nets and all of that. A little bit of a flavor fail, making Plankton the white creature, though making him a mite is hilarious. The overall value of this secret lair, if you were to get the cheapest non-foil versions, is about $30, so almost exactly the same as the price for the non-foil. Obviously, secret lair cards go for way more than their regular printings because they are secret lairs. They have limited quantity and special art. So, objectively, yes, it was going to hold its value. But it is only it's printing cards that are about the value of the secret lair itself. And frankly, a lot of it is taken up by Patrick, the Barktooth Warbeard, because it's a card from Legends. So it has not really been reprinted at all. To go into your SpongeBob the SquarePants secret lair themed commander deck, we have the SpongeBob SquarePants Internet Sensation secret lair, a 5-card and a token secret lair featuring all the best memes in SpongeBob. Of course, we have Counterspell with SpongeBob doing the little beaky thing. We have Daze with Mr. Krabs looking dazed and confused. Force of Despair with the meme of Squidward looking through the blinds at SpongeBob and Patrick having fun. Night's Whisper, the bloodshot eyes of Squidward being jolted awake. And then an evil laughing Patrick on inevitable betrayal, along with a food token featuring the Krabby Patty. Very funny. Very, very funny secret lair. It is about $7 worth of card here being printed, and is simply just a not worth it purchasing choice. Do you agree?
Yeah, the art on it is, like you said, it's just the memes. But proxy printers have been doing this for ages. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure one of my roommates has a deep love for proxy printing. Might already have some of these from before they were announced, you know. Because what's more classic than putting SpongeBob meme on a counterspell?
It's a good meme.
It's a great meme, but they just copied and pasted it from the internet.
I've seen a lot of heuristic studies with that SpongeBob, and he's got a little speech bubble saying, "Do you pay the one?"
Yep.
I've seen a lot of that. I do want to point out one thing here. If you go and look between all of the secret lairs and all of the cards that are getting reprinted here, can you tell me which one makes a fucking food token?
I believe none of them do.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, none of them make a food token. They just gave you a food token that's a Krabby Patty for the hell of it.
That's it. Worth $30 right there. Krabby Patty food token.
Literally. Feel free to pick up these secret lairs if you so desire. I will not.
I will not as well.
Be doing that. Though I could totally see myself proxying up those lands because they are very funny. It's like Gary's going on an adventure. Gary's the best character in SpongeBob, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. He's got an entire house in his shell. And he also lives in a house in his house.
Yeah. Gotta respect it. Gotta respect the hustle.
Respect it. You gotta respect it. Lastly, before we get into the Commandfest, we'll pop to to the Final Fantasy Universes Beyond real quick, because we got one more card to talk about, and I already lost it. This is so embarrassing. This is just abjectly embarrassing.
It was on the same page as SpongeBob.
I know. I literally closed it. Anyway, we got it open again. We have the backup commander for the Mardu commander deck for Final Fantasy. It is Celis Rune Knight. She is from Final Fantasy VI. When Celis enters, discard any number of cards and then draw that many cards +1. And whenever one or more other creatures you control enter, if one of them entered from a graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. That is, anytime that happens, for the same mana cost as the face commander. 1 red, white, black for a 4/4. This one's kind of gassed up.
That, like, right off the bat, it's everyone can. There's the Gravecrawler combo is already a broken combo. This just says you need one sacrifice outlet and Gravecrawler, and you're good to go.
This goes with all the classic Mardu reanimation stuff and making everything you reanimate much, much better, including tokens that you might be generating off of this. And this is a 4-mana refill your hand and fill your graveyard with all the good stuff when it enters, and then gives the +1/+1 counters. It's gassed up to oblivion.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to point that out. And she's also got the full art anime waifu treatment. So
Nothing like a full art anime waifu treatment.
Indeed. Lastly, we got the wrap up for Commandfest in the year of 2025, the Lord's Year 2025. They just announced the 6 locations for Commandfest this year. April 18th to the 20th will be in Orlando, Florida, presented by Cool Stuff Inc. May 17th and 18th will be in Birmingham, England, presented by Axion Now. And then May 24th to 25th will be in Shanghai, presented by Kadao. Those Commandfest events will net you a promo reliquary tower, a full art reliquary tower. So I hope you know what that card does.
It's pretty simple.
It's got no text. It's a textless full art. It's got no information on it. Later in the year, during the summer, there will be, we don't know what the promo card for this yet. They're going to announce it later. But from June 28th and 29th, we'll be in Sydney, Australia, presented by Let's Play Games. July 11th through 13th, there will be 2 Command Fest events. One in Bonn, presented by JK Entertainment, and one in Worcester, Massachusetts, presented by TJ Cafe and Games. Ooh. Don't know what the promo is there. Command Fest has always seemed very fun. And there's never been one close enough to Cincinnati, Ohio, in the time that we've been playing to warrant going to.
Yeah. It's rough.
Do you want that Reliquary Tower?
You know, I don't really play a lot of Reliquary Tower.
Me neither.
There's definitely some decks that do like a Reliquary Tower, but I feel it's one of those non-basic lands that people, especially when you're new to playing, you're like, well, I need this. I have to have a relic. I have to have no maximum hand size. Like, it's fine. You probably don't. You're probably fine with a colored source in a lot of decks.
Yeah.
It is a cool look. It is a cool design.
I love the design on it. Let's see. Non-foil, traditional foil promo cards will be at the first 3 while supplies last. So you might not be guaranteed it. You got to be there on time. Don't be late. And it looks like you're going to be getting both the non-foil and the traditional foil. I wasn't sure how they were going to distinguish that. It seems like you just get them both. So good for you, for those of you that are choosing to go.
Could also be the ticket price, depending on what ticket you buy. That's a very,
That would make sense. Very SCG Con.
Very SCG Con indeed.
Which, by the way, SCG Con has had the same fucking Command Tower or Path to Exile or Arcane Signet promos for like 3-4 years now.
Bastards.
The rat bastards. How do they have so many of them?
Probably.
And how are they still worth more than a normal version of the card? Which is...
Gotta bling out your decks, you know?
You got to. You got to do it.
Bling, bling, bloom.
You got to respect it.
Gotta respect the bling.
That is all the news we have for Magic the Gathering on this, the Lord's 88th episode of the Duels and Mana Dorks podcast. It's been a good one. It's been a good run. We've had a good run. 88 episodes.
88
plus
episodes.
A ton of bonus ones. The show's not going away by any means, but Sam, what do you got going on for the next couple months? You busy?
Yeah, so for the reason I'm moving again and the reason I quit my real life job is because I hate you all. No.
I hate you all individually as people.
Yes. No, I've decided to take a 4-month backpacking trip along the Appalachian Trail. So I will be leaving briefly, not today, but tomorrow, after tomorrow, as of the posting onto the Patreon for our Patreon subscribers. Indeed. So Brandon, I'll miss you much.
Very much. And you're going to be gone for basically right up to Gen Con is the plan.
Yep, that's the plan.
And maybe not even go, which will sadden me very heavily.
We'll have to see, you know. Don't know where I'll be.
Who knows?
I could still be stuck in Maine at that point. We don't know.
That would be depressing as all hell. Being stuck in Maine for that long?
Yeah, that'd be rough.
Jesus Christ. However, are you going to play with all your Magic cards? Are they going to rot in boxes?
They are currently at my parents' house, where they will reside until I once again grace Ohio with my presence.
Ohio's certainly not going to be gracing you, that's for sure.
I might grease me.
It'll.
Oh.
That's kind of hot. It'll be welcoming you with crossed arms and sour expressions.
He'll tisk at me a little bit and ask me why I was out so late.
Literally. Do we think your foils, are they going to be more Pringled?
I will say I opened up a deck that I hadn't played in a while this past week, and the deck was significantly more bent than I previously recall it being.
Get bent, man. Get bent. I've been saying it for years.
Yeah,
so
that's what you're known for, is saying get bent.
Mm-hmm. That's true. that is true. I don't know in your experience with Magic Pringling foils, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but Aftermath, man.
Aftermath, yeah.
Those fucking foils are out of control.
Yeah. 2023 was just not a good year for foils in general. All foils Pringle eventually, but 2023, and I don't know what it is about that Aftermath set specifically.
It's the only set I keep all my cards in giant black card boxes, as you know. We did the same. The Aftermath section of that box is the only one where I've had to go in and like alternate which direction the cards are facing so that the Pringling is in different directions and they can kind of like pressure each other a little bit so they're not all just Pringling to the same direction. And it's not working. It hasn't been working. No. It's not going to work.
I've heard so many people give so many different advices on how to de-Pringle cards. Never found it to work. Never found it.
So before you leave, you should lay out all your cards in like 10 card stacks and then just put a bunch of books on top of them so that by the time you return from your trip, all of your cards are de-Pringled and ready to play with at a moment's notice and ready to be completely swept out of the water by all of the power crept cards we're going to be getting for Dragonstorm Tarkir and Final Fantasy and Edge of Eternities.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you. I think that's going to be a very cool experience, and I hope you get out of it what you want. I hope you come back to us renewed with a vigor and a bubbly demeanor, even more, maybe a bit more gaunt,
probably a little more gaunt. Yeah. I mean, as you can see, I already cut my hair.
Oh yeah. That's a sad. I noticed that before we started, and I didn't want to bring it up right out of the gate. But man, that thing was. I was wondering if you were going to leave it long or not for this. That would have been unwieldy. It
seems, a little unwieldy. And I went to my, I went back to my hairdresser that I've been going to for several. She was the one who started with me with my long hair growth, and she was cutting it and kind of holding back like gasps. She's like, "I've never seen you with hair this short." It's like, yeah, I know.
It reminds me of when we first met.
Yeah,
you had that short hair. We were able to do you up like hot Thor for our little dual Thor picture.
Yeah, it is very fun.
Very fun, very exciting. Well, for those that watch the show, listen to the show, that does not mean the show's going on hiatus, and it doesn't mean you're only going to have to listen to my voice. Our good friend, Typical Gemini Wyatt, is going to be stepping in the meantime. Releases might be a little bit shaky for Patreon, so it might be a day late. We might have to change what day it comes out early, but because we release early, it should not affect the release of the free feeds, which is very exciting. But yeah, I'm excited to have Wyatt on by Sam, replaced entirely. But no, when Sam comes back, he will of course be welcome back, and I'll be sure to hold some extra packs for the sets that you miss for our 2025 Chaos Limited pool. And yeah, do you have anything else you would like to say to the audience before you
go? As always, stop going for chase cards.
Yes. Quit buying sealed product, hoping to get the Ether Spark.
Yes. Just play the game. Play some draft.
Yeah. Go to your local game store. Do a pre-release.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Bring it, or better yet, bring a commander deck.
Maybe do both.
Probably will do both.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
It's a great idea. Well, on that note, We love you very much. And as always,